I was like, maybe I should start looking into university. So I think this is a good sign that all of you are here, all of you are sort of excited to learn. At any point, if you want to ask a question or if you have, queries about anything I'm talking about, feel free to raise your hand. And yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time. So here goes nothing. Just a brief background of what I did in school. So up until 10th grade, I did what everyone does. And after 10th grade, I chose the science stream and I did economics and math as my electives. And I've written, I was super confused because I started out being science stream with psychology and biology because I wanted to get into medicine. 1 week into classes, I was like, no, this is not meant for me. And then I submitted a form to Soma ma'am. I switched to economics and math. And I was still super confused because I like all these subjects, but I didn't know exactly what, I wanted to pursue a career in. And I think that's a very interesting point to make because a lot of us like a lot of things and a lot of us don't like a lot of things. But I would recommend that you sort of look into Ikigai, which is like this Japanese philosophy that it doesn't matter what you like. What you should pursue is something that you like, that the world needs, and that you would enjoy doing for the rest of your life. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And that's something that I sort of started looking into later. Don't put pressure on yourselves because this decision, of course, it's an important one, but it isn't end all be all. If you sort of don't like something, you can always switch out. This is something that I did. I loved all my teachers, I loved my school experience, but I did not enjoy science. And I sort of found out too late after my 11th grade midterms. I was like, no, I'm not meant for this. But I was in too deep and it was hard to sort of just leave. But this is sort of proof to all of you that, you can always switch out. You don't have to, continue being sad or continue doing things that you know you're not good at or know you're not enjoying. Um, what I did enjoy during school was a lot of extracurriculars. Um, so I was in debate. I was in MUN towards the later half of my high school career. I was in basketball. I was in, drawing, painting. There were a lot of things that I was into and I was interested in. And I was also involved in the student council. Um, Shameless plug, but I was the head girl. So I think those things was something that I was really interested in. I really wanted to be involved with the school community. And that sort of showed me that leadership, community building, these are skills that I want to continue pursuing later on. It didn't matter what exactly I was doing. I knew that these were things that I was passionate about. But now what? It's October, I'm in 12th grade, all applications are opening, and all my friends are asking me, hey, are you going to study for the JE or are you giving like some other exam, or are you applying to the UK, to Australia, to the US? I was like, I don't know. And in comes research. So I think this is a very important step in a lot of your application. You need to know where you want to apply before you even begin starting your application. So, a lot of the first important step is standardized tests. I don't know if that's the case anymore because, all of you are COVID babies. So you probably don't have that much importance on SAT or IELTS. When I was applying, at least in 11th grade, it wasn't SAT optional. So I had to submit an SAT score or I had to submit an IELTS score. When I entered 12th grade, that's when the pandemic really was in full swing. So I didn't end up submitting IELTS, but I did submit my SAT because I was satisfied with it. I gave the SAT twice, and first time I just like winged it. And I think that's not a good strategy. Second time around, I just used Khan Academy, but you could use anything, honestly. But just make sure that you do practice tests and that you actually like focus on the exam because it is an important indicator. Again, it's not end all be all if you're not doing well in the SATs because the SATs aren't programmed for everyone else. But for me, when I did prepare, there was a significant jump in my score. So I think it always helps to prepare. Something that I also did was that I would recommend that all of you do as well is summer research. Now you have, I think, 2 more summers before you start applying. I'm assuming everyone's in 10th grade, but it doesn't matter which grade you're in. You do have a few summers before you actually begin applying. I reached out to professors at Carnegie Mellon in Qatar, and I did summer research with them. And I was useless. I was just a high school kid. I didn't know anything about computer. That's not even something I was interested in. But I think it helped to have college professors write recommendation letters, um, and sort of comments on my application, because they know what their university looks for and what generally universities look for. So I think they really helped me throughout the process. And it also helped to sort of be in a university environment, be around people that are actually doing things that you would want to do. So if you're interested in tech, you can go to Carnegie Mellon University. If you're interested in like political science or international relations, there's Georgetown. You're sort of spoiled by choice. You don't even have to leave the country. You have some of the best universities in Qatar, so feel free to actually make use of it. And cold email, that's my sort of go-to recommendation. Just cold email, send out mass emails. It doesn't work out, what's the worst that can happen? That's always a good attitude to have. That's sort of the attitude I had when I was applying to universities. But also third thing that I'd recommend you do is volunteer. And travel. Make sure you use your summer break to actually enjoy. Um, you know, you should have fun. It's not just about applications again. Entrepreneurship, I think again, Nikhil, Prithviraj and his team, I think I really commended them when they sort of reached out to me, because this is something that shows that they really want to sort of initiate something. And I think those are things that colleges really enjoy. So it doesn't matter what the sector is, it doesn't matter what exactly you're doing, as long as you're sort of, showing that you actually have initiative skills. Um, when I was in 11th grade and 12th grade, I started like a non-profit organization with two of my friends, and we used to organize MUN conferences, and we used to send out a payment link, which was in partnership with Education Above All, which is like a charity in Qatar. And so if people wanted to register for MUN, they would just have to pay 20 dirhams or 20 riyals to, the charity. And that sort of helped because I was passionate about MUN and everything was online, and, things really weren't happening. So it helped that we were doing something we liked, and we were also sort of using it to raise funds for, educating kids in countries like Yemen, Sudan. So I think, again, make sure that whatever you do sort of shows that you care about your community. It doesn't matter what community it is. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be designing clothes for dogs, but as long as you show that, you're actually passionate about something, it doesn't matter what, that's a good sign. Fourthly, I think the thing that I grappled with the most was well-rounded versus spike applications. I don't know if you guys are, familiar with this topic, but a well-rounded individual would be someone who's good at academics, good at, particular extracurriculars. But spike would be someone who's not really good at everything, but is the best at one thing. Colleges, it's not really clear exactly which one they prefer. I don't think they prefer one in particular, but make sure that you are sort of either or. Again, it always helps to be an expert at something. So you could be not doing so well in, classes, but you could be the best footballer that Qatar's ever seen or DPS has ever seen. And, that's sort of going to look good on you because you're actually passionate about one thing. But also, again, if you're well-rounded, which I think in my case I was, I wasn't exceptionally the best at anything, but I was sort of mid-level good at a lot of things. So I think that also helped in showing that, I'm a taskmaster, I can juggle a lot of things. So you sort of got to make that decision on your own, and you've sort of to understand where you stand. Fifth, letter of recommendations. Make sure you start early, because it's also hard for teachers and, people that you're reaching out to, because everyone's probably going to bombard them like on the day of, the applications due. So you should probably start out, I would say the end of 11th grade is a good time, because then you don't even really have pressure for exams. When after you're done, you can reach out to teachers, you can reach out to professors that you probably did summer researches with. You could reach out to a lot of other people. You could, involve yourself in some professional activities as well, shadowing people, but make sure you reach out early and make sure these letter of recommendations are actually good. A mistake I made was that I reached out to the professors or teachers that, those classes I was performing well in, and not those that the teacher and I actually had a personal connection with. Because, I got 100 in chemistry and I got like a 95 in physics. I reached out to my chemistry teacher, but I feel like my physics teacher saw me struggle more And she was able to see that I was actually putting in effort, because I went on from like an 80 to a 95, as opposed to chemistry, where I was already scoring pretty well. So I think if a teacher can comment on a personal growth or a struggle that you've had better than another teacher who has seen you do well consistently, I think that always looks better. And also make sure that your letter of recommendations just don't have to be general teachers telling you, like, universities, what exactly you did, but they sort of tie into a lot of the niche. So something different I did was, when I was talking about my basketball experience, I reached out to Tejinder ma'am, um, who sort of, was teaching me basketball. I was coaching the girls team. And I asked her for like a recommendation. And she told me that she's never done this before, which is actually very insane to me, because, a sports teacher can really comment on the grit you have, the determination you have on a field. And those are things that sports really show. And it's insane that people are just not reaching out to the teachers that have actually seen them do a lot of things. You don't have to just reach out to your subject teachers. Again, you can reach out to plethora of people that have seen you at some point, struggle, do well. It doesn't matter. As long as they know you on a personal level and are able to sort of connect well to your application, I think you should reach out. But again, you need to sort of also keep in mind that a lot of teachers probably have never written letter of recommendations. So you also, again, need to give them time. You need to sort of be involved in the process. Don't just be like, it's their responsibility. Um, yeah. So that was the first phase of my research. And the second phase was essentially college tier lists, where I was creating a list of reach universities, mid-range universities, and safety universities. On a broad level, it's essentially reach university would be a university that, you're actually like praying to God that you get in, but you're not sure you will, because it's actually insanely hard, competitive to get in. And mid-range is something that you sort of can get in, cannot get in, but it's not insanely out of the possibility that you will get in. A safety is a university that you for sure think you're going to get in. Again, you can never be too sure. It doesn't, sometimes safeties can just reject you. You can never be sure. But it's always good to have like a bunch of these universities. So you're not just, aiming for, I have to get into Harvard, I have to get into Cornell, and then you just don't end up anywhere, because these schools are actually insane to get into. So it helps to have a few of these read schools, a few mid-range, and a few safeties. Um, Again, the math is completely up to you. You could apply to 2 reach, 5 mid-range, 6 safeties, or you could completely arrange that number out. But make sure that you're not just, applying to one or the other. And like a way you can sort of distinguish between these universities is by looking at the median grades. So if you're above the median, then it's a safety. If you're in the median, then it's a mid-range. If you're below below the median, then you're probably reaching, but aim for the stars. The right fit university, again, it's important that you find the right fit, because sometimes prestige isn't everything. um People are like, apply to Harvard, apply to Yale, but does it even actually match with you? Does it even sort of relate to you? I think that's more important to think about. So look at the program or study. So if you're interested in a particular niche, you can look at which university has it best. You would think that Harvard is sort of the best in everything, but Chicago actually has a better CS and industrial engineering program than Harvard does. So, you could end up in Harvard and you'd be like, oh my God, I'm at Harvard, I'm at the best university, which is true, but Chicago still has a better program in whatever you are interested in. So I think you should look at what your interests lie in and which university is sort of the expert in that. Style of instruction, again, I think my presentation is very US heavy, because that's something that I personally did most of my research in, but style of instruction is very important. Um, the UK is very similar to like a rigid CBSE sort of structure, as opposed to the US and some universities in Australia as well, from the little research that I've done on Australia. Um, so you need to really look at what style of instruction fits you and suits you. Level of academic rigor, again, some universities are known for other things beyond academics. If that's not what you're into, then you probably shouldn't apply. If you're into sort of like universities that have good career placements, as opposed to good academic rigor, then that's something that you should also prioritize. Fourthly, I think community culture. I think people usually overlook it, because they think that once I go there, I'll probably end up liking it anyway. But it always helps to sort of look into it. I applied to Dartmouth College. because I really liked, the sort of culture they had. It was like a small university. Everyone was close knit. I think that was something that I resonated with as opposed to a very big university. Um, so I think it's important to look at community and culture. Um, College essays, I think, again, depending on your choice of university, a lot of universities have different prompts. A lot of universities just ask you to write a personal essay and that's it. So it depends on your university. Make sure you do this research well in advance because you want to at least spend the summer before 12th grade or during 12th grade working on your essays. Application process. So these are some personal insights. I applied to 22 universities, which is actually insane. Um, Not a lot of people do that. I was just very paranoid, so I applied to 22 universities. I would say that you probably shouldn't apply to so many universities because it's actually better to focus your, abilities and your effort into a few as opposed to like just throw stuff out. I tailored my application to every university I applied to. So it wasn't just like a common application that I sent to everyone. Um, I did send the common app, but beyond that, I think there were a lot of tweaks that I made to my application depending on the university. So if a university values leadership, I submitted my leadership portfolio. If a university values research, I submitted my research portfolio. So you should, again, do your research well in advance. I was waitlisted a bunch, and that's pretty common. So waitlists are something that are anxiety inducing, but just have to get used to it. I applied early decision to one university. I got waitlisted, and I applied early decision round two to another university, and thankfully I got in. Um, but make sure you use early decision because that, it doesn't necessarily increase your chances of getting in. It just increases your chance of financial aid. It increases your chance of, getting into the program that you want. So the earlier you apply, the better it is. I know the UK does this as well. There are rolling admissions. So ensure that you apply in advance as soon as the deadline opens, whenever you can. Don't wait for the end of the deadline. Common App fee waiver. So if any one of you, if any of you are actually planning on applying through the Common App, look into the fee waiver because like I got the fee waiver and a lot of us fall under the US sort of income threshold because we don't live in the US. You just have to ask Jolly ma'am to say that yes, your income falls below that level and you just get applications for free. So you don't need to pay for applications. That's why I applied to 22 universities. If I had to pay, I would never apply to 22. But it's free for me. So I think a lot of you, it could be free too. So look into it, look into the income thresholds. If it isn't, you're not poor enough, so you've got to pay. But if you are below the income threshold, then you can get a fee waiver. Tips: start early, keep deadlines in mind. These are just general things that I found in the internet, and these all make a lot of sense. You have to find your niche as well. Always helps to be unique. It always helps to sort of know what you're exactly good at. It's not just about what the university can do for you, it's also about what you can do for the university. So in your letters, it shouldn't just be that Harvard's prestigious. I don't know why I keep talking about Harvard. I didn't even apply there, but it's like Harvard's prestigious, Harvard's the best, professors are amazing, but what can you contribute? I think they also sort of need to know why they should accept you. So make sure you find your niche, make sure you sort of relate it to what the university is into. Don't apply to too many or too few. Too few would be like two universities, which if you think you're going to get in and if that's all you want to do, good for you. But you have to sort of find the right balance. Be yourself, of course. But you can sort of polish your application. You didn't hear it from me, but you can ask friends to help with reviewing your essays because when I was writing my essays, I was like, this is the best piece of literature anyone's ever read. And one of my friends were reading it, they were like this sentence does really make sense. And I was like, yeah, man, you're right. This sentence is too many commas. They were right. And so it always helps to sort of have like a third person reviewing it. It could be your mom, as long as there's another pair of eyes looking at it, because the admissions officers are like objective people. They don't know you, they don't know how amazing you are. Your essay is all they have. So, take help reviewing. Do this in advance again because your friends are probably going to get busy in 12th grade with pre-boards and half yearlies and things like that. So make sure you sort of do your essays in advance if you're going to ask them for help. reach out to people on LinkedIn. Always helps, always, helps with understanding what the actual experience of studying at a university is like. And you could also get fun facts from them that, you wouldn't find online. And then the admissions officer are going to be like, oh my God, how did they know? That sort of demonstrates extra interest, which is again the next point, which is tailor your essays to each program you apply to. Shows clear interest to join that university. It all sounds fake because you're applying to so many. They know that you're applying to so many, but it just shows that you're willing to go that extra mile to know more about the university. Through LinkedIn or through reaching out to professors directly. That always helps. My program. I'm currently studying at New York University and I'm studying in their liberal studies program. What that basically means is I get to spend 4 years in 4 different countries, which is super fun. I have spent 1 year in Abu Dhabi, 1 year in New York, 1 year in London, and I'm going back to Abu Dhabi because it just felt nicer. But yeah, this is a program which I would recommend that like you guys apply to. It's actually insane because I'm on a full merit scholarship. Um, so I'm not really paying anything and I get to travel for free. And I'm studying legal studies, political science with minors in business and film, different from science stream with economics and math, huh? But again, this is the sort of education that I wanted. I wanted a liberal studies program, which would allow me to explore as much as I wanted to. And again, if you guys want to, focus on one particular subject and that's your end goal, this is probably not the best program for you. But for me, I did not know what I wanted to do. I still don't know, honestly, which is why there's a question mark next to my future, because I still don't know what I want to do. And I think this sort of program helps. I get to explore different arenas, different academic interests, different professional interests, without it, being out of my academic progress. Um, the American university system, I resonate with it a lot. You take classes, it can be in anything. I took one class in fashion, I took it in jazz, I took one in calculus just this semester, and one in commercial law, which is insane to me. But if this is something that you're into, again, this system works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not for everyone. My future, I want to potentially get into law, but we'll see. I've still got time. I'm not third year, by the way, so I have one semester and one more year left, 3 more semesters. Uh, yeah, I think if you have questions, you can ask me now, or if you would like to ask me privately, you can reach out to me on my email. Yeah, but that's all I had to talk about today. If you guys have questions, you can feel free to ask right now, or you can ask them in the chat, whatever works for you. It's giving Zoom like class flashback. I know what the teachers went through. Okay, if you guys ask me questions on personal chat, I'm not gonna say your name, but I'm gonna say the question. If you're not okay with that, let me know. What is a good SAT score? Again, depends on where you're aiming. I think SAT score is also a pretty good indication of the median, which is why I would sort of recommend taking it, because our grades, like, they're different from the American GPA system or like the UK system. So unless you're going to India, unless you're continuing in the Indian curriculum, your stats sort of won't make sense to a lot of people outside. So for us, like let's say 92% is a pretty good percentage. But to different curriculums, it's not. So like, because it's easier to get that in different curriculums than it is to our curriculum. So I think standardized scores would be a good way to, you know, make sure you understand where your positioning is and understand which university you're more likely to get into, and make it easier for them to, understand as well. You have to sort of look at your SAT score according to which university you're aiming for. Some universities like a 1460 would be a good score, but some universities you would fall below the median. So in that case, those would be your reach universities. Again, it's not just about SAT scores. It's not, I think now, especially for your generation, I think it's less important than it has ever been. But if you can afford to, if you can study for it, I would say you should potentially do it in your 11th grade. Um, Someone else asked, how exactly do you reach out to professors, considering they're basically strangers to us initially? I think that's the beauty of it. Like, if you're embarrassing, like, they don't know you. And that's actually the beauty of it. You can just start off saying, I'm an 11th grade student, I'm a 10th grade student, I'm interested in this research subject. I saw that you published an article on this. I would love to get on a Zoom call to discuss it further. If they answer, great for you. If they don't, what's the worst that could happen? You can look at cold email templates online, and it's honestly, I love cold emailing because there's just like no face to my email. Like, they don't know who I am. So even if it's cringe, even if it's embarrassing, who cares? But I would strongly recommend looking up professors on Google. You can open like the university pages as well. They have their emails written next to their names, which is a pretty good, it's pretty good for us. Um, just email them and see where it takes you. Someone's asking, would you like to share your stats? Sure. So my 12th grade, I'm lucky. I did not have to write the board exam because mine were canceled because of COVID. So I got a predicted 99%, which I sent to everyone. Of course I did. I got a 99% predicted. I'm going to send it to everyone. And no one even asked for my actual percentage because then at that point they knew that my exams had been canceled. So it didn't really matter. A predicted and projected score were the same. And my SET, I got a 1540 in my second attempt. In my first attempt, I got a 1480. Yeah. Um, Again, stats aren't everything. I feel like it's like, I mean, everyone says it, but it's true. Like, stats really aren't everything. You could have the perfect scores, but you cannot get in, and you could have below perfect scores and you could still get in. And there's a median for a reason because there are people below that median when you look up universities. Can you share your email in the chat? Yes, I will. Uh, 2003. This is like my old email, so I might not check it as often. Um, but yeah, if we're looking forward to attending uni in the UK, is it necessary to switch streams for CBSE to A levels for efficiency of acceptance? And is there possibilities for scholarship for Indians? Um, I don't think it's necessary to switch to A levels. I know that just last year, someone from DPS went to Oxford University, which is insane. But again, with the CBSE score, you could get in anywhere. And a lot of people from DPS using the CBSE get into amazing universities like UCL, University of Edinburgh, just from my year. So I think you don't need to do it. Of course, it makes it sort of easier for them and for you. But at this point, if you think it's going to be harder for you to switch schools, then I don't think you should. Is there possibilities of scholarship for Indian? Yes. I don't know exactly um, what sort of scholarships are out there because I didn't apply to the UK. But I know for sure that there are. I know that there are a bunch in Canada as well and the US as well. There are merit-based, there are financial aid-based. So these are two categories. Merit-based, usually you don't have to apply for. If you are very good and they want to retain you, then they just automatically give you merit scholarships. Financial aid, when I was applying, I had to fill out a CSS profile. If you're applying to the US, you sort of have to look into that as well. A CSS profile is basically like a documentation of, this is my dad's income, this is my mom's income, this is how much I own, whatever. And based on that, you get, assigned aid. With your percentage low, but a really good resume, SAT, IELTS, can you get admission in any abroad university? But the thing is, yes, you can for sure. There's no such like, no, you're not going to get in anywhere, but no one can predict it. And that's what like kind of stresses me out about the American system, that you can never predict if you're going to get in or not. But yeah, I think with a really good resume, SAT, IELTS, the US sort of really values like other things as well. It's not just academics. Usually academics sort of help you get your foot in the door. But like beyond that, it's just your extracurriculars that are going to carry you because everyone sort of gets mid to high range level, marks nowadays. Everyone gets like no one like really fails their classes. bar a few exceptions. But if they always give you like a space to justify why you failed or why you had problems. And if you're able to justify it well enough, your good resume, SAT, IELTS can carry you and get you accepted. How do you write a good essay for American colleges? Honestly, that's a good question because I'm asking myself the same. The US college essay is very much abstract. I don't know if that's a good word, but a lot of you can look up, essays that got accepted into good universities, and they're very abstract in nature. They're very much like when I was younger in my grandmother's lap. But I think the US, like for American colleges, they really value storytelling, and how you tie in a story to your personal life. Um, so I think you can look up essays that got into the university that you're aiming for. Um, a good essay would include storytelling, would be gripping at the beginning, because honestly, like admissions officers are probably going to be with your file for 30 seconds. So you have to make sure that you sort of grip them in and you hold them just with your first few lines. It shouldn't be boring. It shouldn't be like, hi, my name is, or whatever. That's that's not going to grip them in. Look up sample essays. You can also, get them reviewed online. I know that a few people also go to like a few like consultancies. I don't know much about them, but there are like Crimson Education, I think. You can go there, you can sort of get help from professionals if you feel like it, but I don't think you need to. You can just look up online, look at sample essays and get started. SAT versus ACT, which is better for having a better chance at it. Okay, I think ACT. Not about better chances, but I think it's just going to look better for you. Both exams are honestly redundantly the same. But ACT is out of 36 versus the SAT, which is out of 1600. So I think if you make one mistake, the drop is from 1600 to 1560, as opposed to an SAT where the drop isn't as drastic. So I think it just looks better. But I think universities know that. So honestly, both of them are kind of the same. Where can you contact the professors? You can just look up on email essentially, or even on LinkedIn. So I think if that helps. How do you find or like pick out professors for research? Uh, Open universities like pages, and you can go through the expertise that the professors themselves have. Um, and you can sort of see which one aligns with you and just email them. You can also look up publications that the professors have published, because a lot of them have published articles, published reports, and if they look interesting, if they look fun, that could be a comment, that could be a start. You can just be like, hey, this looks interesting, I'd love to further discuss this, can we get on a call? Would it be too early to contact college professors in ninth grade? No, it's never too early. I think it just looks better actually if you say that you're in ninth grade and you're actually interested in research, because no ninth grader ever is. So if you are, that's actually a good sign. Can you do research with a professor even if you aren't an expert in that field? I think they know that you're not going to be an expert if you're in 10th grade or like ninth grade, and you can offer assistance. You can be like, can I be a research assistant, or can I help you out with anything, or can I just shadow? Shadowing would essentially be you walking around with the professor, not actually doing anything, just observing what they do. But that also is an amazing learning opportunity. Is there a fee waiver to apply in the UK? I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Maybe there is. I think there has to be. But I don't know what the threshold is. For the US, if you earn below $100,000 a year, which I feel like a lot of people outside the US do earn under $100,000, so they do qualify. Is it getting boring? You can
No,
you can say yes. If you guys feel like it's getting boring, I would suggest that you send me questions on email or on my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is just my name, Arya Kanade. I think because we promised 40 minutes and I think it's been about 40 minutes. So people can start leaving. Can you get a bombastic internship while just studying in an abroad university? I don't know what you mean by bombastic internship, but I think you can. Anyone can. Did you take any AP classes? No, I don't think we can. I don't know if we have the option, but I didn't look into it and I did not take any AP classes. Did you apply to unis in Canada? If you did, were there? I did not apply to unis in Canada, but my friends did, and I know University of Toronto applies, provides scholarships. Um, so yeah, guys, just focus on your studies because the good universities are the ones that give the most scholarship. So if you're doing well in your studies, if you're doing well in your extracurriculars, don't feel pressure, but do the best you can and apply for the good universities because those are the ones that usually give the most scholarship. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's getting boring because I see a lot of people leaving. And I feel like the people that have stayed back are nice, and don't want to leave, which is nice of you guys. But if you have questions, you have my email, you have my LinkedIn.
We here at Straightforward Insight would like to thank Arya for conducting this workshop. And we also want to thank everyone who's joined today's workshop. And we hope you've learned something today. We'll be conducting many more events in the future and also look to connect with other organizations for volunteering opportunities. Thanking you once again.